Good evening, and we would like to fill in. We still have not found out why so many of the broadcasts are terminated before they're finished. But I wanted to pick up on the last discussion about abortion when I was talking about our young people in the parish. We cannot wait until our children become young adults or teenagers before we begin to teach them some of the basic aspects of Orthodox Christian life. We need to begin while they're still young in the parish and perhaps attending a church school. The one thing that is extremely important, though, for our children is that we make them feel and realize that they have real value in the community, that they're among people who are like an extended family, so that they learn at an early age to communicate with adults, and with adults who have a certain standard and a certain set of values. If we do not teach children values while they're young, they're not going to be able to choose values when they're older, because they won't really have a concept of what values are, and the basic values that we hold, such as the affirmation of life. We need to somehow begin at a very young age, whether through the church school books that we use, or just through discussions, or however, to begin to instill in our young people a concept of a family life, and a family life that is focused on an icon corner. That is where Jesus Christ is visibly, in the icon corner, the center of the life of that family. And really, when we have disputes, arguments, and things within the family, particularly between husband and wife, it's good to go to the icon corner and try to resolve the differences and the arguments there in the presence of the icons, which remind us of the presence of Christ and of the saints. And when possible, those who use the traditional Orthodox Christian crowns for their marriage instead of the imperial margarine crowns that are very often those theater crowns that are very often used now in the last couple of centuries in the North, you can take those wedding crowns, put them in a nice frame, and put them in the center of your icon corner, because your crowns are an icon, because they're a part of the revelation about the mystery of redemption itself. Remember that the crown of thorns was Christ's wedding crown with which he was crowned to the church. But anyway, our children, they need to have these focuses very early in their lives. If the family itself never goes to the icon corner to say any prayers, then the icon corner is just going to become some kind of an artifact. Even if the family gathers and simply makes the sign of the cross and says, "Lord, have mercy," at least there's a focus on Christ and on some kind of relationship with Jesus Christ. In the parish itself, though, children should really be constantly made aware that they have value within that community, value in the household of God, and that they are cherished and loved in that community. They're a part of something, and that something values them, and they have some kind of a role in that community. You know, to exclude children from the Divine Liturgy is a terrible and tragic mistake. That sometimes babies are not brought to communion for weeks, months, or once a year or something, and of course they're terrified when they come for communion, and they have no sense that they belong to a community, and that they're a part of that community with value in that community. And this is one of the great things in helping to shape their understandings of life itself, and of the concepts of life which are revealed through the Orthodox Church. When young people grow up disconnected, things like abortion become very easy for them because they really have no concept of how we value life and why. They have a lot of peer pressure from other sources, but no peer support in the church. And see, the peer pressure that comes in school, in university, in the workplace, but in the parish, everybody is a peer. Everybody is a member of that community with a position, a role, and value in that community, so we can give each other peer support for the values that the Orthodox Church teaches and reveals to us. And we don't need to use pressure. The pressure is outside, and the pressure is to go away from our system of moral values. The support we give is in helping people understand what these values are and why they are values, and to help them grasp the Orthodox Christian life. But also, everyone needs to belong to something, and especially young people. We find time and time again when we interview young people who are taking drugs in one of the organizations I'm director of, and young people who have become involved in gangs, that a part of it is because they want to belong. They want to be within some group where they are recognized, where they have a place, where they have a role, and where they have value. And in these gangs, the discipline is often deadly. But young people are seeking boundaries and discipline when they join a gang. It is usually because they do not have boundaries and discipline elsewhere. Self-discipline, though, and self-control are what we are trying to develop, but within the framework of the community where we give one another support in developing this self-discipline, self-control, and where this peer support is a counterbalance to the peer pressure which comes elsewhere and leads our young people into sometimes real catastrophes, but also leads them into a disregard for life itself, a full acceptance of such things as abortion, euthanasia, and all these other things, and can lead them into an indifference about humanity or about life itself. So we need to bring these things into our community, to embrace our children, to make them feel at home, to make them feel like they're loved, cherished, and valued by everyone in the parish. I don't remember if it came across in the last broadcast or not, but I often like to say that the fullness of parish life is really there when we have young children to make noise and elderly people to complain about it. Then we have a whole full parish life. And let us embrace our children this way. They come to communion and we give them communion by name. That means they have a name in the household of God, a name in that community, and being named in that community, they also have value. But we should also you don't have to be a father, mother, or some blood relative to tell the children that you appreciate them and love them, and that you consider them a part of that community, and that they have value to you and to the rest of the community. Anyone can and should do that in the parish. Thank you, and think about these things a little, and how our children do fit in to your parish community, and what is your parish giving them to help strengthen their life in the face of all the challenges that they have to face in this world.